delivered and stacked so that he knew that every family in his hometown were at least warm during the winter. Cabot Hall is a place where it's like a town hall, and he was on the building committee for Cabot Hall. He spoke at the dedication. He was chairman of the dedication committee, and he was the one that placed the time capsule in the foundation that day. He donated 2 paintings to them. One is a huge painting, and there's a whole story behind that. It wasn't always on the wall. My mom and I went to them and told them that the painting wasn't on the wall, and if they weren't going to put it up, that we would be happy to donate it to some place that would appreciate it. And they go, "Oh no, it's just out being refurbished." Well, it was in the upstairs attic, and they did have it refurbished. It is now hanging on the wall. And then there's another painting called "Crossing the Grand Banks of a Ship," and it's in the same room as my grandpa called it Yankee Doodle Dandy, but it's the Spirit of 76, the original Spirit of 76. It's in that same room. And the other one, William the Silent, or William the Orange, is right outside that room. He donated a bell to Cabot Hall and had it inscribed. It's hanging up there. And he donated the clock on there. And I think there's a picture of Cabot Hall in one of these things, and you can see the clock and the bell. And right now, they're both being refurbished, because when I was there last time. Once a year, he would have a strawberry social in his backyard, and he would invite the whole town, and he would invite everybody who came with strawberry shortcake and a beverage, because he wanted people to be able to have, and it was something they all looked forward to once a year, and they would all go and eat, and they'd all have a good time and look forward to it next year, and he invited everybody, rich, poor, didn't make any difference what he did for work, color, or anything. Everybody was invited. There's a Gregory Street in Middleton and a Marblehead that was named after him. He set up the Gregory Fund, which was money in his will that his family to the 3rd generation, which is my Aunt Carol, who's still alive, or anybody that had worked for him for at least 1 year, if they had a need, could go to this fund and take money. They don't know where this money is in the town, but they're still looking for it, because I asked him about it. He was a selectman, a presidential elector. He was elected as a joint candidate for the Prohibitionist Republican parties as a state senator. He was trustee of the library. He was trustee of the Marblehead Savings Bank. He was school committee man. He was on the committee to seek water supply into the town. He was vice president of the Essex County Agricultural Society. He was superintendent of the Sunday school. He did fundraisers for the YMCA, and he gave series of lectures. He taught at Maine University. He wrote textbooks for the University of Massachusetts. The list goes on and on and on. And all I can say about it is he never wanted notoriety. All he ever said was he wanted to do it because it was the right thing to do. When he started making money, he didn't think it was right that he was going to be wealthy and other people were not anywhere near wealthy. So he decided that he would live on $300 a year and give everything else away, and that's what he did. I'll close with something he wrote. In my 78th year, I sit down to send my annual greetings to the many thousands of friends with whom I have enjoyed many seasons of pleasant intercourse, with some of you well nigh to 50 years. I trust that this finds you enjoying the blessings of good health and prosperity, not only in worldly affairs, but in everything where attainment fits us to a higher manhood and nobler womanhood. I am happy to be able to say that I am in the enjoyment of many blessings, physical, mental, and moral, for which I daily thank that dear father and mother, long since departed this earth, who gave them to me as a heritage, and the great loving Father of us all, through whose laws they were enabled to transmit blessings to their many children. Not having been blessed with a family of my own, I adopted at one time in early marriage life 4 little children, strangers to me and strangers to each other. These I educated, and many other unfortunate ones, and now, in my declining years, I enjoy the pleasure of being called Grandpa by 17 bright, healthy little ones. He was a very nice man. And do I have any questions? Anybody have any questions about it? Yes.
How many pies does the recipe?
I don't know. It looks like a lot.
8 eggs.
But you know, he used to cook for a lot. I mean, he would make them and then give them out, you know, and stuff, so I don't know.
You said you found most of this information out by going through minutes in the town?
No, minutes in the American Missionary Association.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He used to do a lot of volunteering through the American Missionary Association, giving money that way. And he would do it as Mr. Howard.
Change his name.
Yeah, when he donated it, but they knew that that's who it was. So in the minutes, it would say his name sometimes or sometimes Mr. Howard. And the fellow that he wrote about the schools was with the American Missionary Association. That's how they get to know each other. Then this Dickerman went to the John Slater Fund, and that's another thing. In this book right here, this is all, not all of it, but this is a lot of the letters back and forth between when he started the schools. And this, in the beginning, is what they wrote in the Southern Workmen about the they called them the Marblehead Libraries. They wanted him to name the libraries after himself, Gregory, and he said, I'm not going to do that. He says, I'm going to name it after the town I love so much and give them the credit, so he named them the Marblehead Libraries. But you'll see on some of the, I have a lot of different things, like these are some of the catalogs. The ones over here are the originals. I have original catalogs. I have original, the order blanks and the envelopes and things like this. He donated, when the Danvers Mental Asylum was running out of room, he gave them property. He sold it to them actually for $19,000. And then what he did is he gave them, they made it the men's portion of it, so he gave them seeds so the men could learn to trade and grew vegetables. And that was in Danvers, and that's where they grew the Danvers onions. There's a picture, one of these booklets has that lady who was Rosarian, a little bit about her, a little bit about Martin Freeman, the African-American fellow, and also Marcus Carlton. So there's a lot of different things if you want to take some time and look at all this. This is about the orphanage. So there's more in-depth things. I couldn't get into really in-depth about a lot of it, as I said, otherwise we'd be here till morning. So I'm just trying to do a little bit off the top. And this is what he looked like as a middle-aged man, and this was his logo. And then there's other things to look at over here too. This is the park that he donated. Yes?
How long did it take you to research him, and how long did it take you to write a book?
You know, I have a very strong faith, and for years and years and years, we just kind of walked around doing not much of anything. And when I finally, it was like I got this obsession that I said to myself, I think I need to write something about him, because when I'm dead, all of it will be gone. And it took me 6 months to research it, get all this information, put the book together, and the book came out 1 year ago this month. But it was just meant to be. And all but one historical society gave me all their stuff for nothing. One historical society, I wanted 3 pictures, and they wanted to charge me $200 plus 2 free books, and I wouldn't do it because I had so many other people that were willing to do it for me for nothing. And I even identified JH in the pictures for them. Because I said, I'm not going to do it, but I want you to know which one's JH in the pictures. And even the schools, I mean, you know, like usually they charge for copying. They didn't charge me for copying. They just charged me if they mailed it. But one person said to me, if you don't mind downloading this and taking all the stuff, I'll send it to you for nothing. So it really didn't cost me anything. So in my mind, it was the right time, and it was supposed to happen, because otherwise it wouldn't have happened, I don't think, and that, especially in that short amount of time. And then I contacted, people to do the printing, and I got a price. I sell the book, this book right here, I sell it for $37, and that's exactly what it cost me, which is an almost 600-page book, hardcover, and that's a very good price. But the fellow gave me the best price he could, and somebody said, you should really charge for it, and I said, I can't do that. How can I make money off this man's legacy, All he did for nothing, I can't make anything. So that's what it is.
And did you grow up hearing about him all the time from your grandfather and great-grandfather? Or how
I
did you-
heard about him all the time. I knew my great-grandfather. He died when I was a little girl, but I do vaguely remember him. He had an aura about him that was so loving. White hair, and always wore a suit. I remember, always wore a dark suit. Very loving aura around him. Very, very nice man. One time when I was living in Connecticut, he walked 5 miles. He took the bus down to surprise us and walked 5 miles to our house. And I looked outside. I can remember as a little girl looking out and seeing this man. My mother goes, my God, that's Grandpa. And then he came. But anyway, we always heard about it, but it was nothing about what they did. It was nothing about their philanthropy. It was always about Grandpa. You know, he loved kids, he did this, he did that, about the seeds. We used to have hundreds of packages of seeds in my grandparents' closet. I used to think, what in the name of God do they have all these seeds for? Now I wish I had one. We don't have. I can't find one packet of his seeds left. The Seed Savers Exchange has some of his seeds, and I've been in touch with them, and they are going to, they're going to do an article about him, and they're trying to see exactly which seeds they have too. So that would be kind of nice too, the heirloom seeds that were his.
And who eventually sold his business?
When my great-grandfather died in 1952, it just went out of business.
Oh.
What happened is my grandfather even worked as a florist in the business when he was young. But when they got embezzled, my grandpa got out of the business because he thought, it's been embezzled, it's not doing very well. I'm married with a family, I better get a job so I know I have salary coming in. He got a job at the GE. He still worked part-time for him, you know, helping out stuff, but his main job was with the GE. And my Uncle Warren, my grandpa's brother, my great-uncle Warren, helped too. My great-grandmother had the first lending library in Marblehead. And they had a little area where they had a lending library, and they sold birds in Marblehead. And then they had, after my great-grandfather took over the business when my great-great-grandfather died, they opened up stores. There was a store in Marblehead, and then there was a store in Lynn. And my grandfather worked in the store in Lynn. And that's where my great-grandmother started her business, the lending library, and then she moved to another building. And my Uncle Warren worked for them. My Uncle Warren died in a fire in 1957. And the person who embezzled him's family owned the funeral parlor in town. So my grandfather refused to pay for any funerals. He said, it's my way. And I have a letter where they say, Dear Lovett, if you ever find it in your heart to maybe make a small payment, it would be appreciated. And I won't say because it's on tape, but my grandfather said, in a pig's, I'm not. Did you have a question, Rose?
I did. I had two questions really. Were the original documents, were they in your family then? The
Yes.
catalog?
Mhm.
Oh, what nice to have. And then I'm just curious, from a researcher standpoint, how did you track down I think you had mentioned the American Missionary Society in their journal. Did you have some letters from them, or how did you track down their minutes to know that there was going to be valuable information for you in there?
I was reading an article one time about, I don't even remember what it was, but this lady wrote in there about these Marblehead libraries and how she had seen a book plate and couldn't understand where they came from. And through her research in the 60s, she found out about the Marblehead libraries. So then I started, from that little bit of pieces, I started into what it was, into reading more and more and more. And then when I get to the American Missionary Association, on the internet, there's a lot of it. And then I would just Google a lot of things. And I've been researching for a long time, and I help a lot of people do things to get into groups and find lines and stuff like that. So it was easier than, like when I started in 86.
Okay.
And of course, we didn't have internet like we do now either. But all this stuff came like that. And then the John Slater Fund too. And I'm still finding out more and more stuff about him as I go along. I have the letter where he wrote, there's a book over here that's called The Great American Fraud, Articles on the Nostrum Evil and Evil Quacks. And what this was he didn't think it was right that people were selling snake oil as medicines. So he purchased 30,000 copies of the book and sent it out to anybody that he could think of, all over the country. because he wanted people to become aware of it. And he sent it anonymously because he was fearful for his business and for his family. And that letter is up here that he wrote, I got, yeah. And it was the Great American Fraud.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. He was quite a character, really. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much. I just think that he was really a man worth knowing. He was, and the more I read about him, the more I learned about him, the more in awe I was. And I just did the book because I wanted to make sure that the people would remember him forever. And not just for his vegetables, but because of the kind of person he was. So thank you.
Thank you so much.